might start, since you were nice enough to invite me, to talk just a little bit about why the cell phone was created in the first place.
Definitely.
And we're going to spend a couple of minutes on history, because I prefer to live in the future, not in the past. But you may find it interesting about why. I mean, it's kind of obvious that most of the people in the world today own a cell phone.
Right.
Is that an amazing thing? I don't know.
Qualcomm says more people own a smartphone or a cell phone than a toothbrush, right? In today's day and age. Yeah.
That's a really profound comment, because I'd be willing to bet that more people have cell phones than toothbrushes. They certainly have more cell phones than toilets, as an example. So I'm not sure that there has ever been an invention like that. And what is the essence of a cell phone? It is a recognition that, first of all, people like to communicate with each other, like we're doing now. And people are inherently mobile. Boy, this is wonderful. We got Portugal, London, and 2 San Diegos. Well, I live in Del Mar, so
nice.
We're in San Diego, so 4 different locations. We are independent of location, and that is the very nature of people. That people want the freedom to be everywhere.
Definitely.
And the reason that I came up with the concept of having a portable cell phone is that way back in primitive times, the 1960s, and boy, they were primitive. You guys don't realize how fast progress has occurred, because 1960 is not that long ago. Well, it's in my lifetime, which makes it not very long ago. And at that time, there were no personal computers. The digital camera had not been invented. The internet existed only as an experiment. It was not very important. I don't know if I mentioned the personal computer. They had the integrated circuit was still an elementary thing. So these were really primitive times. And the Bell system was a monopoly. You guys know what a monopoly is? I know you do. If you wanted to have a telephone, you have to buy it. Well, you couldn't buy it. You had to rent it from the telephone company. And this is the telephone company, not one of several competing companies. Wow. And the business model of the Bell system was very simple. They had Bell Labs, which is a research organization, and they'd come up with an idea, and they would turn it over to AT&T, which was their marketing, and they would decide what product they should have, and then they would go to Western Electric, which is the manufacturing entity, and then they would come to you, and they'd say, Lauren, we've got this product. This is exactly what you want. And you know, that's totally antithetical to the way we do business today, right? People do all kinds of research trying to figure out what people want.
Exactly. Personalization. Yeah.
Fulfill me. So what the Bell system decided was that the time was ready for them to get into the wireless communication business. And their solution to that was the car telephone. So here we had been trapped by this copper cage. We've been connected by a wire. So anytime you wanted to communicate, you had to be in your office, in your home for 100 years. And now the Bell system comes in and says, boy, we got just what you need. We're going to trap you in your car now instead of being in your. So, I was at Motorola at the time. We were in the two-way radio business. And most of our business was, in fact, people in cars, policemen, firemen, business people. But we had discovered, first of all, that people could not conduct their businesses, whether it's a concrete mixing company or a policeman or a fireman, they couldn't do that without communicating wirelessly. And then the technology got to the point where we could do things with a portable unit that you could carry around. And we discovered an amazing thing that people not only could not do their business without these portables, but they had them in their hands all the time. We made a holster so people could put them, and you know the holster business for cell phones is not very big. Most of the people carry their cell phones in their hand. I even remember a specific case where I was walking through an airport with my boss and a guy named John Mitchell, who was my mentor at Motorola. And he said, look around, we've got all these airline employees walking through here. We have spent all kinds of money to make holsters for them, and they're carrying these two-way radios in their hands.
Wow.
And that's where I got the message. The freedom to be anywhere and still stay in communications was valuable. And the technology existed. And so Motorola decided to take the Bell system on. The Bell system was saying, we're going to have this marvelous new system called cellular, which is car telephones. There are not going to be very many of them. We've done the research that we think that the worldwide market for cell phones is 900,000.
Wow.
Forever.
Off by zero. Yeah.
And it turns out, guess what? They were right.
Off by 3 zeros. Yeah.
The worldwide market for car telephones ended up being about 900,000. Because about the time we got to the very first cell phones were car telephones. But by the time they got up to the 900,000 level, the portable had taken over. And I'm getting ahead of the game, but we demonstrated the first handheld portable cell phone in April of 1973. By 1983, took 10 years to get over the politics of spectrum and resolving all kinds of decisions. In 1983, the first commercial phones came out. There was a portable cell phone, but it was very expensive. $4,000 in 1983 was like having a $10,000 cell phone today.
Wow.
Very few people could afford it. Very few people could afford even a car phone with that. That was $3,000, which would be like a five. But and the portables didn't work very well. But between 1983 and 1993, the car cell phone disappeared.
Wow.
By 1993, all the phones were portable. It was like a revolution, and they got, as you know, today there are more cell phones than people in the world.